from RF Smart. This is Taking Inventory, a podcast all about better controlling your supply chain and improving inventory management. And now, your host, Sarah Archer.
Hi, welcome to Taking Inventory with RF Smart. This is a podcast all about ERP, warehouse management, and of course, inventory. My name is Sarah Archer. I'm the digital media coordinator here at RF Smart and the host of this podcast. And I'm joined in the studio today by Danny Bushman. And we also have Bill Sullivan, who is zooming in from Colorado. I'm going to let them tell you a little bit about themselves. Bill, you've actually recently just stepped into a new role at RF Smart. You've worn many hats. I know Danny has too. Can you just tell us a little bit about your background and what you're doing now?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So, hi everyone, I'm Bill Sullivan, as Sarah just mentioned. So I'm the Vice President of Product Strategy and Management here at RF Smart, looking after where our investments and where our products are going. So I've recently moved into this role from a product manager role here with our Smart NetSuite product. I've been at RF Smart for 17 years, long time. Probably spent half my time on the services side, so I certainly have a lot of empathy for our implementation folks in our company and how they engage our customers. And I spent about half my time in products. So happy to be here with you today.
Bill, you've got to tell us what's something fun about you. What do you do in your free time? Any hobbies or family you want to tell us about?
So I've got 2 teenage daughters. That's keeps me very busy.
That in itself is a hobby.
Yeah, and keeping track of the boys. I keep an eye on them. But anyway, we do a lot of outdoorsy stuff here in Colorado, hiking, fishing. We love the outdoors all year long. Probably interesting fact, I would say, is I might be one of the few people you've ever met that grew up in South Dakota.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you're the only person I've ever met who's from South Dakota.
Maybe even from South Dakota.
That's crazy. I didn't know that. And Bill, like I said before, is in our Denver office. If you're listening and you don't know, RF Smart has an office in Denver and one in Jacksonville and then several other globally. But I had the opportunity to come out and visit the Denver office and was just floored by how gorgeous it is out there. So I would definitely be taking advantage of the outdoors if I was there.
I think everybody wants to move to Denver.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautiful to visit. Danny, you're here too. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Give us some background, maybe an interesting fact.
Sure. Welcome, everybody. My name is Danny Bushman. I'm a solution consultant for the company. I actually started my career on the sales side. I've been with the company about 20 years now. So I started on the sales side. A couple years after that, I moved into the services side. I moved into different positions, project managers and practice directors. I've recently moved back to the sales side about a couple years ago. So that's where I am now, solution consultant. I help customers with solutioning our product as we try to sell it to them.
Yeah, if you've bought RF Smart, you may have seen a demo from Danny. Danny, tell us a little bit about you. What do you like to do in your spare time? Fun fact.
Yeah, I'm a pretty active guy, so I like to do a lot of sports. I like to work out a lot, so I read. I like to see plays, and I love music. I guess a fun fact would be I'm a Bruce Springsteen fan. I grew up with them. I've probably seen him 35 plus times, so I'm a big fan for him.
So where Bill was born in South Dakota, you might say you were born in the USA. Was that bad? It was kind of bad,
good.
Huh?
I like that.
That's funny. Well, let's talk about inventory and not bad Bruce Springsteen puns from me. Something that I've learned at the time, my time at RF Smart, which is only a couple years. In this room combined, there's so much experience. It's awesome to talk to both of you. But accurate inventory is at the heart of every single process that we do. And so we're either trying to make sure your inventory is accurate or that we're maintaining accuracy. And so today I really want to talk about picking and some best practices around picking and accurate picking And that really starts with accurate inventory. Is that right, Bill?
It really does. So order fulfillment is just such a critical part of the operations to so many companies, but the prerequisite for good picking processes and activities are going to be accurate inventory. So if your inventory physically in the warehouse is not really matching what your ERP system is saying, like NetSuite, you're going to have, it's not going to work too well. So having the discipline to use a system with your workers and in your operations is really key. So from the point of receiving inventory to putting that inventory away, to transferring it, to picking it, all the movements for inventory and even transforming inventory if you're doing manufacturing is going to be very key to using the mobile applications and not just saying, well, I was going to go over here, I'm going to pick something up and I'll get it into the system later, and then you forget. So just using the system with all the movements is just very key. And then you're really set up very well to really get the benefits of what we're talking about today, which is some of the WMS capabilities with picking and order fulfillment.
And this really starts at receiving, right? So you want to have, you mentioned discipline before, which I think is such an excellent word to describe this, right? Because it really is a discipline. You have to decide that you're going to put these practices into play and that you're going to follow through. So let's talk a little bit about that. Talk a little bit about that journey through the warehouse and why that's important.
Yeah, so when products coming in the door, there's so many things. You really want to make sure that the inventory that you're receiving is really is what is expected. So what's on a purchase order, is that the inventory that's arriving at the door? Are your quantities correct? A lot of other types of information that are really key to capture as well would be things like what vendor supplier numbers, country code of origin. Maybe a real common one is lots, what lot information is associated with that inventory that you're receiving. So being able to do that kind of seamlessly as you're receiving it without having to write things down and then go into the system is really key. We just try to make that easy to do so that not only is it easy, but you're updating your inventory and your ERP in real time. So that's really key for all the downstream processes that we're talking about. So it all does start with receiving.
And I think one thing that is important to note here too, and Danny, you probably know this better than anybody, RF Smart, it's automation. It's going to make your life easier, but it's not AI. It's not, learning as it goes, so to speak, although we are all learning as we go and trying to make the processes better for you and improve products. But it really is a part of that discipline. Is that right? Is just really making sure from the very beginning you're doing the right things.
It is, yeah. I mean, we really tout that our product is user-friendly, so we make it very user-friendly for the user to do we walk them through the processes. But I agree with Bill, it's a discipline, and we advocate that each of the users who is going to touch a product, deal with inventory, they do the right thing by executing that with a function that's actually moving that and touching it. And then the accuracy will just come along with it for it.
So the first best practice that we're talking about today as we go along is making sure that the inventory is accurate and that you are putting that process in at receiving. The second thing I want to talk about a little bit is just around efficiency. And of course, RF Smart, our goal is to make you more efficient. But one of the things you can do is to reduce the path that the picker needs to travel. Is that right? Does one of you want to take that?
Sure, I'll take it. Yes, so some warehouses are very large, and to avoid having the users, the pickers crisscross back and forth, go from one end of the warehouse to the other and back again, is just not efficient. So we've developed a way that when they're picking for an order or a wave, they're actually going to be pathed through the warehouse in a very easy fashion, starting from the beginning of an aisle and then walking their way down through it. So it makes it very user-friendly. The user just follows our prompts, and it will take them through a very efficient path for it.
Yeah. And Danny, you mentioned waves there. There are some other kind of best practices that you can put into place, right, for increasing productivity and efficiency. What are some more examples of that?
Yeah, so we can group orders together. That's what a wave is. So you can group orders together. You don't. So the user really can just pick multiple orders at the same time, just walking through the warehouse just once, rather than for each order having to repeat those steps walking through the warehouse. They can just do it once and pick as many orders as they want for it.
And so I think that's kind of a good segue into talking a little bit about the functionality that RF Smart provides to do that, right? So we've got wave picking, splitting orders, and creating picking tasks. And so in order to do all of those things that increase efficiency to make your inventory more accurate, there are some functionality within RF Smart that we can use for that. Bill, do you want to tell us a little bit about some of those picking processes?
Yeah, so really just thinking through the business process of how you want your product to, get out of the warehouse to staging and packing and then out the door. So what's the most efficient way to do that? And a lot of companies, that we work with, especially in NetSuite, are smaller companies, maybe even going from like pencil and paper and carrying paper and trying to find that product, and going to a system that's going to guide users through the warehouse is kind of a big leap. But really looking for that system, and we can't be real efficient until we really understand what those processes should be, and then we can kind of map in our solution to make those processes happen. So grouping orders by maybe the carrier. So if you've got a lot of FedEx orders that might be going out that afternoon, you might group all those orders together, send the people out in the warehouse. They're guided through RF Smart, and they're picking those orders, staging those, and timing that for that packing and then that shipping with the FedEx carriers. Others might be, maybe you may have some customers that you have to do very order specific picking. So you can have, one order by customer or group orders for a particular customers. We could group orders across customers as well for like carrier or maybe ship date. So there's a lot of different ways that we can group the orders that really make the most sense for that fulfillment activity for that company. And a lot of that is based upon how that product's going out the door, but might be very customer specific as well. So we want to, companies want to make their customers happy, and getting the right product at the right time is really key to keeping your customers happy and keeping your customers in general.
And it's interesting too that you mentioned smaller companies or companies going from manual. Something that you've said that kind of resonated with me is that no matter what the size of the company is, picking is the same, right? Like you still need to have those processes in place.
Yeah, so it's interesting when you say the same. A lot of companies will say, "Doesn't everyone do it this way?" And honestly, the answer is no. There's so many things that make picking and order fulfillment very unique by customer. It could be the warehouse layout. So a lot of companies don't start their business and say, well, this is the exact layout, and I'm going to build my warehouse, to fit my order fulfillment, my inventory tracking. They're going to inherit the facilities they have, and they're going to make the best out of those facilities. So being able to adapt to that kind of variable, or maybe some very customer specific type of variables, is something we work with our customers on. And we basically try to build our software to be configurable and adapt to those different variables as well. But one thing I would probably mention talking about big customers, small customers, B2B, B2C, I've spent a lot of time in the B2C area with a lot of different companies around the world, and very familiar with fulfillment strategies and WMS systems with those companies. When I moved into NetSuite a few years back, working with a lot of smaller customers, one thing that really struck me was that even though these customers are smaller, their fulfillment activity is every bit and sometimes more complex than a lot of the larger B2B companies. So the customers, when you're shipping to a customer, they have very high expectations. It's very different now than it was 5 years, 10 years ago. So that leads to the complexity that we see in the e-commerce fulfillment arena, which a lot of NetSuite customers are in.
Yeah, it is kind of fascinating. Like I've mentioned, I've been in around 20 years in this business, even longer actually. And you would have thought that you would have run into, of the hundreds of warehouses that I've been through, you would have thought that you would have run into every scenario of how they pick. But lo and behold, when I get to a new customer, they have a process that I just never heard of.
Yeah.
So it's not surprising anymore. We try to have best practices throughout our system. We've developed a lot of picking planning functions that would accommodate most of these. So our tool really has come a long way.
Yeah, and I want to talk about some of these picking functions. We've got Pick Planner and Pick Manager, and we're going to talk a little bit about both of them and what the use cases are for them, because I know depending on the customer, it might be different. There are some where Pick Planner is the right fit, and some where Pick Manager, which is relatively new functionality that is exciting for our customers. So, Danny, can you talk a little bit about Pick Planner? And talk about the scenarios where it would be a good fit for a customer.
Yeah, so Pick Planner is a way for it's an automatic way actually for plans to be created. They create waves, and then the user picks those waves. And the way that you can make these plans. There's parameters that we give it, and then that's where the magic will happen there on these parameters. You can actually schedule these waves and these plans based on carriers. You can zone your warehouse out into different sections. Pickers can stay in their own zones, so an order can be split up based on the zone of the items where they are. And the picker can just stay in their respective zone all day, picking all these orders for it. Priorities, there's just license plating actually is available into this Pick Planner. So it's a very advanced tool, automated way to wave out groups of orders, how the customer really wants them to be grouped out for it.
And so one of the ways that I've heard it said is that Pick Planner is a little more hands-off. So it's kind of one of those things where you can set it and let it run. And that's one of the differences between it and Pick Manager. Is that right? That
is correct. Yeah, it's the more advanced one where it is hands-off. Once the plans are created, then it is an automatic schedule. Everything's scheduled. You schedule the plan to run, waves would be created, and then the pickers will see those waves show up on their handheld real time. So, yes.
And while we're talking about waves, because you talked about this a little bit ago, can you describe to me what waved or being waved out means?
Sure. So the scenario would be, I have a bunch of sales orders, and I really want to group them some way or wave them out. So, for instance, I may have 3 my top customers, and I want to pick all my customers together. So the set of orders that are in for customer A would be waved out to one picker, and they'll pick all those orders for that one customer. The second set of orders is for a different customer. That could be waved out together. So you could you can segment those orders out by customer. That wave will produce just those orders for that customer there.
And so I love hearing about, how this is a little bit more hands off. Those waves are just going out, and it frees the supervisor up, right? So that they're able to tackle things that might be a higher priority. Gives them a little bit of time back in their day is one of the advantages.
Definitely, yeah. This reduces their involvement of it. They don't have to print the pick tickets like they normally do. Most of them do that. They don't have to shuffle that piece of paper around, hand it out to the pickers. All of that's avoided. It's automatic. The users know exactly what their task is to do, what their wave is to do, and then they go pick it. So yeah, the warehouse supervisor now can pay attention to other things in there.
And it's interesting you said they don't have to shuffle paper around, because this is one of the functionality of RF Smart that you're able to use in order to start reducing paper in your warehouse. Is that right? That
is true. Yeah, there really is no paper needed through this process. We've thought of all the way through shipping. No paperwork really needs to be. We have a concept called totes. Those totes can be used to house the different work orders in that wave. That tote can then just flow through to the packing and shipping. So, yes, you really could avoid paperwork up into the shipping.
Yeah, that's a question that I know that we're getting a lot right now as people are trying to reduce touch points and handling, and just, overall to eliminate paper, because, it's good for the environment or to reduce the cost, whatever it may be. But there's definitely some value there from some paperless picking strategies. And I know that there are some available also with Pick Manager. Bill, I wanted to ask you a little bit about Pick Manager, because I know that coming from the role that you just came from, obviously you had a bit of a hand in rolling out some of the functionality that we've done for NetSuite. Do you have any, before we leave Pick Planner, any thoughts there? And then, what are the use cases for Pick Manager?
Yeah, so Pick Manager is similar to Pick Planner, but really geared for more the smaller to mid-size customers of ours in NetSuite. So it's more interactive. The warehouse supervisor could, look at and create their plans, but then they would actually kick those plans off interactively. So you could save a plan, say, I want my order fulfillment for UPS going out today. Here's my plan or maybe I want these customers. I'm doing regular fulfillment for these customers. I may have a plan for them, and then I can just kick that off. But the nice thing about Pick Manager is I can view my plan before I release it to the warehouse. I could make any adjustments, any assignments to it, and then put that out to the warehouse. But one of those, it's paperless, just like Pick Planner. So as an order comes in, and maybe it comes in toward the end of a shift, but it needs to go out that day. With both Pick Manager and Pick Planner, we can basically expedite that out to the warehouse workers, and it would show up on their devices, and they would be able to pick that. So both facilitate that paperless approach. But you think about it, I've been in so many warehouses where the warehouse supervisor has to print that out and then go chase somebody down, or even go pick it themselves in order to make sure that gets out on that shift. So being able to do things paperless, extremely effective. But with Pick Manager, it gives even our customers who are moving from paper to a system and to have the system tell the users what to get, where to get it, and go paperless. It really is a nice transition. And then between these two products, our customers can grow. As they get bigger, they have more volume, more complexity in their warehouses. They can actually start to then introduce an automated way of assigning picks, prioritizing picks, and releasing them to the warehouse through Pick Planner.
And it's interesting that you said more complexity, because I was just thinking, Danny, you've got a story about a customer using these picking functionalities. Is that right?
I do. So this customer had lots of ways that they needed to pick, but one was kind of interesting where there's a concept of unit of measure that most of us know, eaches, cases, and pallets. So this customer actually had all three. So they stored the product in eaches, they stored and sold it in cases, and that same item actually can be stored and sold in pallets. So our pick planner was able to split up an order so that you have forklift drivers can only handle the pallets, and then you have walkers only be able to pick the eaches and cases. So this customer, we were actually able to help them split that order up. Some of the lines on there could have been eaches. Other lines on that sales order may have been ordered in cases, and then other ones in full pallets. The pick planner would be able to help that, split all those up into the respective waves, and then the user who's on the forklift handles the pallets, the user who's picking cases stays there, and then the user who's picking eaches would stay in that area. So very efficient.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that, so kind of recapping, the differences between pick planner, pick manager, both are advantageous to use, but just kind of depending on your circumstance. And so that's something that, as you are, if you're not an RF Smart customer and you're listening and you're considering this functionality, those are things to consider, which one might be best for you if you're looking to grow, how you could potentially grow into pick planner. And
we can certainly help, right?
Yeah.
Your customers or customers call us and they're saying, can you explain the difference? And, here's my scenario. Which one do you feel is best? We can certainly help with that as well, talking to them.
Absolutely. All right. Well, before we wrap it up, is there any final thoughts on pick planner, pick manager? And we'll kind of complete the process, right? So we started in receiving with our best practices. You've got to start in receiving, be disciplined, continue that inventory accuracy, use one of our picking functionalities in order to make sure that you are reliably picking the right thing. And that may be pick planner, which is a little bit more relaxed. Yeah, a little advanced, a little bit less hands-on, or it might be pick manager, where if you are in a smaller or mid-sized environment, it might be a little bit better. Any final thoughts on pick planner, pick manager? Either of you guys want to let us in on?
I would say both of these applications certainly apply to making your fulfillment activities more accurate, but there's a lot of efficiency gains here. So companies are always looking for ways to do more work with the same amount of people. And so these tools are actually really well suited to help with that. So as your volume, your business is growing, both tools are going to be able to help you grow in that area without having to throw more people at things. You can actually do more with the team that you have.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I'll add to that. Thanks, Bill. I'll add to that. We thought of not only just the picking, but what's the downstream, which is the packing and shipping. So this picking efficiency that we provide during these either pick planner or pick manager way really feed nicely into the packer. It sets the packer up well to be efficient in their positions to pack the order out so it can get to the customer quickly.
And I was actually going to ask about that because, like we said, we started at receiving. And so this really flows through the entire warehouse process, right?
It does.
Putting these kind of best picking practices into place is going to affect every part of your supply chain.
It really does start with receiving, yes, and goes all the way through. You're correct.
All right. Well, with that being said, I think that we'll start wrapping it up for today. If there's any final thoughts, any last minute thoughts from you guys, I'd love to hear them. Anything else about picking? Any other words of wisdom for our customers?
No, I think we said that this is one of the most dynamic areas of and more challenging areas that companies are faced with. is in order fulfillment and picking. We've heard Danny talk about, hey, I've been in hundreds of warehouses and I always encounter new situations and new criteria. And I don't think that'll stop. There's a lot of different variables that affect picking. And so we're committed to continuing to invest in these tools that are going to make our customers more efficient than ever. So we'll continue to invest in these tools and making them better. And we're really committed to our customer success in this area.
Yeah, I think that this is just another example of us being crazy for our customers, right? Especially because Pick Manager, like I said, is kind of new. And it was an answer to some customers that came to us and said, Pick Planner might be too big for us or it's not the right fit. And so we answered that call and said, hey, we're going to do something else for you.
We did. Yeah, we recognize that sales orders, getting the product out to their customer is the most important. That's how they make money. That's where their profit comes from. So we're always trying to figure a better way or trying to figure out solutions, how to get that product out the door so that the business can continue, their business can continue.
So for those of you listening, if you have feedback or you want to talk to somebody about ways you can do things better, get in touch with us and let us know because, like I said, this was an answer to a question that many customers asked, so you never know.
We love customer feedback.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we'll end it there for today. Thank you so much, Danny and Bill, for being in. For those of you who are tuning in, make sure that you subscribe so you know when there's a new episode available. Of course, we're streaming on all the major platforms on YouTube, and you can check out our podcast website, which is www.rfsmart.com/podcast. If you've got a question for Danny or Bill or for myself, you can always email us at info@rfsmart.com, and we would love to get some of that feedback from you. So, make sure you check out the podcast website, our YouTube channel for new episodes and resources. Thank you again, Bill and Danny, for being here. And thanks to those of you who are listening. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.